We all have our adventures in the world, from our battling of giant monsters, exploring of great lands, but eventually they must come to an end. This is where Spiritfarer begins. The entire game is about traversing the afterlife, and frankly, I feel this game is a bit of a masterpiece. Almost everything about it is a work of art, and the topic that the game touches on, death, is one that it tackles quite beautifully. And that is where the game begins. So let us pass into the end while I review this amazing work of art called Spiritfarer. When you awake, you learn that you've awoken in the afterlife, and are greeted by Charon. Charon? Yes, that's Charon. The one that takes you across the river Styx. Except in this game, it's more of an ocean. Or is it Charon? Karen, apparently. But anyway, Karen is ready for retirement and decides to dump it on your shoulders. Hey, if he's been doing this since Greek mythological times, I don't blame him for wanting to retire. But anyway, Karen is the Spiritfarer, the person who gathers up spirits on islands in this world and helps them fulfill their last requests until they are ready to pass on. And if we're in the afterlife, what does passing on mean exactly? There's this giant bridge called the Everdoor, which is where your existence ultimately ends. You're not forced to go through it or anything, just when you feel comfortable with eternally dying in the afterlife. Karen gives you the Everlight, and your cat kind of... is a cat and steals it from him. Aw, but look how freaking cute they are. I forgive you, kitty. This is Daffodil, your companion who will follow you throughout the game, whether they like it or not. But going back, the Everlight is a powerful energy that only the Spiritfarer can wield. Karen calls it the last remaining hope of the departed, so that's a bit of a heavy burden to put onto someone's shoulders. It's up to you to find lost souls and make them happy. But Karen tells you to get your own boat with some vague direction. It's okay, I'll row my boat till I die. Oh, wait, I'm already dead. Thanks, Karen. But because we're in a game and not a rowing simulator, we row until we end up at an island where we learn to do some platforming, which is a big key of the game. We then bump into an old friend from our past life, known as Gwen. And she's sort of your tutorial passenger who will teach you the basics of owning a ship and stuff to do. And of course nearby you get a ship and a barge full of junk at that. But hey, this is your ship now, and it responds to the Everlight, which transforms the ghostly spirits you find out in the world into cute animal people. Or their true forms, as they say. At least that's Gwen's theory. But going on from the start, your goal is to traverse the ocean of the afterlife. That's what I'm calling it. I'm not entirely sure what it's called. But you gather resources, build things on your boat, and explore the vast ocean with its many beautiful offerings. The game is practically Zelda's Wind Waker, with a bit more ship management, it would seem. But let's break everything down. There's quite a lot of content, and I'll try to be light on spoilers from here on. To begin with, there's these spirits out in the world. They're mostly normal NPCs with their own quirky things to say, but if they have an aura above them, like so, that resembles something different, it's possible to fulfill some means to get them onto your boat. These can range from them directly telling you what to do, just joining immediately, or them being enigmatic and giving you no clue what to do until later. Once they're on your boat, they'll eventually give you a blueprint for a specialized home just for them. and you'll have to go out and find certain materials to go and build it. This is where the exploration becomes a key thing. There are many islands and areas, each with their own unique resources, and might I add that all the islands have their own hand-drawn art style to them, making them all look visually stunning. The atmosphere and design of these massive set pieces that some artists put work into are truly marvelous. There's so much diversity to the islands as well as you explore. There's islands of towns, vast fields, mountains, snowy mines, even ports and cityscapes, and I was quite excited to see what I'll find next. Not to mention that, but the score is amazing. There's an impressive range of slow-paced music that, well, makes you think. There's the slow-paced piano music that embraces some of the cold, frigid environments you'll be visiting. Then there's the Eastern flute music for the more Oriental-inspired islands of your adventure that fit it perfectly. And the powerful string ensemble for the more serious parts of the story. Overall, the music composition is amazing, and grips the game's story with meaningful and powerful emotions. And this is especially meaningful for the theme of the game, which is the afterlife. But moving on, you get resources from the islands you discover and visit, and you can bring them back to your ship for processing. As you progress, you'll get the ability to build buildings that can refine items for you. These buildings usually have neat little mini-games associated with them. Like for the loom as an example. You'll try to time and hit a specific dot as you use it. When you hit it, you'll get processed resources. If you hit it precisely, you'll get extra resources. And all the refining buildings have a similar game to them. You have the smithy, where you can run bellows and keep it at the right temperature to help melt whatever metal you're smelting. Gardens, where it's basically Harvest Moon, you can just water them and wait. But you can also play a very nice song to make them grow exponentially faster. There's the windmill, where you just adjust a gear occasionally to make sure it keeps on turning. The sawmill, where you have to carve a log just right, and it's actually a lot harder than it looks to get a perfect cut. Then the crusher, which you just mash the crap out of stuff. Just wham, bam, bam. Clearly, some are more simple than the others. But sailing between islands is the perfect time to play a minigame or two to refine stuff you get. It also doesn't take much resources to get what you'll need either. I feel like after you get an island's visit worth of resources, you should have what you need to progress in building a house or new refining building. So this makes sure you don't spend all your time playing the gathering and crafting game. You can also sell your excess resources for Glim, which is the currency in this game. Glim is used to buy stuff from shopkeepers out in the world and upgrades from Albertsons here. He's our wisecracking shipwright who can't resist a terrible pun. So terrible I feel punished listening to him. But regardless, you'll have to keep coming back to Albertson here, and he'll have the ship upgrades that'll let you venture into new lands of the ocean. The ocean is gated off by ice flows, which will require an icebreaker for your ship. Rocky seas, which will require the rock breaker, and mist, which will require the Mist Cleaner 1000. There will be new areas to find places to explore as you upgrade your ship, and setting sail can take some time. Thankfully, there's this sea otter who has commandeered these weird bus stops, and he just sort of... And you're there. This saves a lot of time with getting from point A to point B, which was going to be a bit of a complaint of mine, because I was spending a lot of time just sitting on my boat with a thumb up my buttock waiting for my brownies to bake. Then I remembered it had a fast travel system, and facepalmed so hard I'm pretty sure I lost an IQ point or two. But one small annoyance I have is when it's nighttime it becomes too dark to navigate. The boat does all the autopilot for us. Apparently though, when that sun goes down, it's just too much for our little solar-powered boat. Thankfully, we can go right to sleep and be at it again. Another small problem I have is roadblocks in the game. Eventually I hit these points where I needed a certain platforming upgrade to reach an area, but platforming upgrades are locked behind shrines and obols. Obols are a special coin you get from when a traveler comes on your boat for the first time. It was quite a few hours until I figured out where to go and grab these, especially because I felt dumb and quite didn't figure it out where a specific jump was at an earlier time. The small unfortunate part of the hand-drawn art is sometimes it's hard to differentiate what's a background item and what's a platform you can traverse. Like for example, there's little window ledges on some buildings that you can jump on, but parts that look similar like they would be a platform to jump on aren't. So this resulted in me trying to jump on just about anything I possibly could just to figure that out, and that led to many platforming pitfalls. Not that you can die or anything, 'cause we're already dead! The game can also roadblock your progression by locking certain games behind characters. Like say if you have your uncle aboard, he'll literally stop the entire boat as you go through a thunderstorm, asking if you want to catch lightning in a bottle as a minigame. They all come in different variations, like trying to catch little baby bugs for their mother that rolled up onto your ship, energy waves that pulse on by and try to evade you as you get near, or firework comets that just land onto your ship. These minigames are the only way to get some rare materials, ones that you will need to progress. And locking them behind a specific character you lack only halts your progress, but they're pretty fun. They usually involve doing a bit of platforming on your boat to get resources and some glim in the process. This usually gives a bit of forethought to how you want to build your boat. You can also enhance it with zip lines, air fans, or bounce pads to make it easier to traverse. Your boat may not seem like much at first, but it definitely does become a bit more complex of a platforming maze afterwards. I also wish the boat would just go through the storms without stopping the boat. If I wanted to do it, I would have stopped in the area to begin with. But it makes you want to abuse the fast travel systems to avoid those certain areas, because sometimes you just want to chill out and let your ship drift while you water plants and craft materials, and not get stopped every few minutes when you hit a storm of some kind. It also pulls that Ocarina of Time owl trick where I'm not in the mood to do an event, but because I'm trying to rush through the text, I'll accidentally say that I want to do it and end up there for 2 minutes begrudgingly. But those gripes aside, as I got later into the game began to feel like one of those Zelda trade chains. The ones where you trade an item for another item to progress slightly. It felt like I would be asked to do a request and would have no clue where to get the materials needed for it. So I'd have to do requests for other people, so I would even have a chance at finding those materials if I were lucky. The game has a crafting system that I feel like I would need a wiki for. I meticulously held on to supplies fearing I would need them later. And when the coast looked clear, I sold them all off to get glim I would need for a resource, only to find I would need them again. The game does offer you a way to multiply certain resources with ease, but it's still hard to gauge what you'll need, especially because it's not marked down in the request menu. Like it'll say build X's house in the request book, but you need to check the blueprint catalog on what materials you will need, so this requires me going back and forth to make sure I have X material. It's just a small quality of life thing that I feel was a bit overlooked. Your request book also says the exact materials required for upgrades at Albertson, so there's really no excuse for it not to be in there already. But after figuring things out, you eventually get all the upgrades and buildings you need to progress easily through the story. And I'm not going to lie, the game pretty much becomes a big old landslide into the finale. Like, after getting every type of refinement building, everything went by so quickly, and I'm kind of okay with that. It pretty much devolved into doing the spirit's requests, which is what I primarily wanted to focus on, no matter how mundane or ridiculous it became. Each request gave a bit of insight into the character we completed it for, and that's a nice thing to learn. Before I go into the personal stuff, I feel like it's time I just give this game my thumbs up. This game is a masterpiece. Despite a few rare game-breaking bugs that required me to restart, I should note that I got the Switch version. So I'm unsure if these bugs exist in the PC or other console versions as well. This is what I get for playing a game at launch, but the devs have been fixing it up as they go, so good on them. But on a personal note, I feel this game, despite its themes of death and moving on, should be played by everybody. My father passed of cancer 2 years ago, and it was a very painful moment in my life. I never had anyone I ever loved die, and in such a painful way. In some ways, the pain my father suffered became my own. Death is a life event that we all need to learn to deal with. But at the moment of his death, I felt relieved that he no longer had to suffer that pain anymore. And there are some characters that reflect that in Spiritfarer. There are some spirits who simply wanted to die comfortably but couldn't. There are themes of people battling their diseases in this game that they knew they couldn't win against, such as dementia, forgetting who your friends and family are, along with cancer, not being able to control the disease that is killing you, the pains of growing old, not being able to even stand on your own anymore, worrying about those who won't be able to take care of you when you're gone, and even dying young and not being able to live a full life. This game tackles these heavy topics in a lighthearted way, because ultimately you know you can finally put those woes to rest. And that is what this game is about. Doing a spiritual hospice care for the dearly departed. Being there for folks one final time. And it lets us know that as they are gone now, there is beauty that sprouts from their passing. A cycle of life, a beginning and an end, as so reflected in the Everdoor. Old spirits' homes sprout flowers, showing you've sown the seeds of acceptance of their passing. They may be gone, but their memories will last forever. And I think we need more games that are able to talk about death or heavy topics in a positive light. It's also this taboo topic that everybody's mortified to talk about. But I think if we were able to talk about death and passing, we would be able to learn and appreciate life even more. And the credits begin with an in memoriam of those who the game is in memory of. Some of the spirits you ferry are also based on the people that the developers had passed in their lives. So you know that you are not alone in the losses you have had in life. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video. This was a bit more of a somber one because, well, death is a bit of a heavy topic for me. I also did the recording late at night when I couldn't sleep, so that may seem why I'm a bit low energy in this one. But I hope I was able to interest you in this game. The studio Thunder Lotus does wonderful work and I'd like them to keep doing it. So if you're interested in this game, I humbly recommend it. Also trying out an in-frame kind of view for my videos just as an experiment. It keeps things a bit more organized. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. Maybe we'll hit 1,000 subs someday. Like if you liked, and maybe give me some feedback in the comments below. I appreciate all the feedback and support you've given me along the way. And I'm trying out the whole new end title card thing too, so there's a few of my other reviews if you want to see if you're curious. Thanks again for watching. This is Mr. B, and I'm signing off. Bye-bye.